Why, hello there, I'm Professor Joel, and welcome to another episode of Planet Scooby Reviews. Today we are covering episode 7 of season 3 of Scooby-Doo Where Are You, and the episode is called The Creepy Case of Old Iron Face, and this episode originally aired on October 21st, 1978. This episode sees the gang investigating an old prison, kind of like an Alcatraz prison, because it's on an island, and it's run down, and it's abandoned, and they encounter a pirate ghost there named Old Iron Face or Iron Face, and Iron Face is like an old prisoner of that island, and they had an iron mask welded to their face. And Iron Face also has a team of man-eating sharks that are circling around the island and in the waters nearby. Iron Face is a popular Scooby-Doo villain, and we even see him return in Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase and Scooby-Doo meets Frankencreepy or Scooby-Doo Frankencreepy. But does this episode hold up 48 years later? Let's find out. The episode begins with the gang water skiing in the ocean. A bad storm is heading their way, and the water is starting to get rough. In the water, the gang see a school of man-eating sharks headed their way, along with a person who is standing on two of the sharks wearing an iron mask.
It's a school of man-eating sharks.
Jeepers, if that's a school, that must be the teacher.
The person with the iron mask chases the gang, and we can see that one of the sharks is made out of metal. The person is also whipping the sharks to go faster. Fortunately, the gang evade the creepy pirate by landing their boat on the beach.
There goes that weird character and the sharks.
The gang head to Mama Mioni's to discuss their most recent scare with Iron Face and enjoy some clam chowder.
Chow, dear, it's chowder.
Velma plans on asking Captain Morgan,
Captain,
who is their tour guide, the next day if he knows anything about Iron Face. Captain Morgan is inspecting Skull Island, and the gang are happy that they will soon be getting a tour of the old prison island. Skull Island used to be a prison for the most dangerous criminals, but has been closed for years. Recently, there are plans to open it up for a tourist attraction. Captain Morgan was supposed to meet the gang at the restaurant, but so far he's a no-show and he's about 2 hours late.
Maybe Captain Morgan, our tour guide, will know something about that weird character when he returns from inspecting the island.
Just think, we'll be among the first people to actually get a tour of Skull Island.
It used to be a prison for the most dangerous convicts in the country.
Freddy spots some pictures of a champion water skier on the wall, and the owner and chef of Mummy Mioni's explains that it is her. She asks the gang if they're ready to order more food, but they explain they are waiting for Captain Morgan, who's coming from Skull Island. Mama Mioni tells the gang to stay away from Skull Island as it's haunted by Iron Face, a pirate who was a prisoner there 100 years ago. He was so mean the warden had an old iron mask welded to him so he wouldn't have to look at him.
Hey, look! These are pictures of a champion water skier.
That's me, Mama Mion. You ready to order the rest of your dinner?
We're waiting to have dinner with Captain Morgan.
Captain Morgan?
The tour guide who'll take us to Skull Island.
Nobody ever goes to Skull Island anymore. It's haunted.
Haunted?
By old Iron Face, a pirate who was a prisoner there 100 years ago.
Why did they call him Iron Face?
'Cause he was so mean, the warden had an iron mask welded on him so he wouldn't have to look at him.
The gang leave the restaurant, and Shaggy explains that he's a little upset by the lack of hot sauce on his ice cream.
Mama Mion serves a pretty good meal for such a small place.
Yeah, except she forgot the hot sauce for my ice cream.
I would love to read Shaggy's reviews on Google or Facebook or Yelp. I'm sure it's full of odd quirks and complaints regarding chocolate-covered hot dogs and other culinary oddities. As Shaggy explains his upset at the lack of hot sauce on his ice cream, the gang are nearly run over by a speeding truck. The gang follow the truck and watch them unload a lot of food into Mama Mioni's. Freddy finds this a little strange as Mama Mioni's cafe is pretty tiny and can't really support all that food.
That's strange. They sure are unloading a lot of food.
I'll say.
Jinkies, I'm getting worried about Captain Morgan.
Captain.
The gang head to the docks to get a boat to go to Skull Island, and they meet Captain Flint. Captain Flint refuses to sail with them as he does not want to go to Skull Island.
Captain Flint, I've sailed these waters all my life, and I warn you,
you, stay away from Skull Island.
Eventually, they do find a glass-bottom boat for rent, and they head off while a mysterious figure watches after them. Dead ahead, they see Skull Island, which lives up to its name. It's literally an island in the shape of a skull with a prison on top.
There it is, dead ahead.
In the bottom of the glass boat, Velma spots a sunken boat that says Neptune's World on it. This happens to be Captain Morgan's boat, and it has a torpedo hole in it.
I see something down there.
Like it looks like a sunken boat.
Neptune's World. That's Captain Morgan's boat.
Jinkies, that looks like a torpedo hole.
Now we've got to find Captain Morgan.
On the creepy island, the gang split up to investigate.
I've got a hunch that whatever happened to Captain Morgan's boat is tied up somehow with the ghost of Iron Face.
As they head into the old jail, Captain Flint lands his boat and walks off after them. Scooby and Shaggy are the first to run into old Iron Face, and a small chase occurs.
Anybody here?
The two try to hide in an old room with a metal door. However, Iron Face's brute strength crashes through the door, and we get a few more chase gags. Out on the dock, Freddy, Daphne, and Velma spot an electromagnetic crane used to unload cargo.
Jeepers, I'll bet this old dock hasn't been used for 50 years.
I don't know, Daphne, but the grease on this electromagnetic crane is fresh.
What's a big crane doing on an abandoned pier on a deserted island?
Come on, we've got to find Captain Morgan.
Captain.
Investigating further, the gang find a metal crate marked with the same insignia that almost hit them at Mama Mioni's. Inside the shipping crate, they find more crates of fancy food such as caviar, Egyptian dates, Turkish coffee, and imported cheese.
Wow, take a look at this.
Metal cargo containers.
And look, they're marked with the same insignia that we saw on the truck back on the mainland. Caviar, imported cheese, fancy fruits.
Now that's really weird. Enough expensive food for a banquet and nobody around to eat it.
The gang also find a cave on the beach with footprints leading in, so they head on into the cave.
Hey, what's that?
Maybe it's another entrance to the prison up on the bluff.
It is a passageway of some kind.
And look there, footprints.
Which proves that somebody's gone through here recently.
We better see where it goes.
I guess we're somewhere beneath the old prison right now.
The cave takes them to some stairs, and they come across a super deluxe underground mansion.
Wow, do you see what I see?
I don't believe it. A super deluxe underground mansion.
Someone has been living down there, and they find a copy of today's newspaper. There's also a massive kitchen fully stocked with fresh food.
Somebody's actually been living down here.
Hey, look! This is today's newspaper. Whoever was here left in a big hurry.
What's in here? Jeepers, a kitchen big enough for a restaurant.
Do you believe that? It's crammed with fresh food.
Inside the vent system, they hear a groan.
Sounds like it's coming from that ventilator. It's Captain Morgan!
Captain.
Exploring further, they find a dungeon where Captain Morgan has been captured and bound up. Freeing the good captain, he explains he beached his boat when he made it to the island, and he was grabbed from behind and knocked out.
Are you okay, Captain Morgan?
What happened?
Hey, what happened?
I don't know. I beached my boat, look around the island, and somebody grabbed me from behind. And that's all I remember.
Well, I'm not a crook.
Scooby and Shaggy are chased into a torpedo room by Old Iron Face, where they find several torpedoes made to look like sharks. Jumping onto one of the sharks, they are launched out into the ocean.
These are torpedoes painted to look like sharks. In here. That was close.
Iron Face takes chase with 2 torpedoes, but he's finally caught by Freddy, who uses the electromagnetic crane to capture Iron Face by literally his face. Unmasking Iron Face, it turns out to be Mama Mione. Her restaurant was just a front for her smuggling business, where she'd smuggle convicts in and out of her hideout in the prison. The criminals were smuggled by the shark torpedoes where they could hide inside, and Mama Mione would steer them and scare any curious boaters away with her Iron Face getup. With the island opening up for tourists, Mama Mione had to empty out her luxurious hideout until she figured out what to do with Captain Morgan.
Captain.
Let's see who this Iron Face really is.
Mamma Mia!
Her cafe on the mainland was just a cover for her real business, smuggling convicts in and out of her fancy hideaway under the prison. While Mama Mione, a champion water skier, took advantage of the old Iron Face legend to scare off any curious boaters.
The scheme worked until you showed up with your plan to take tourists out to Skull Island.
Her high-paying guests panicked and demanded to be taken back to the mainland.
Captain Flint shows up and removes his disguise and identifies himself as Federal Agent Hargrove and congratulates the gang for cracking the case.
Hargrove's the name, Federal Agent. You kids just helped crack a case I've been working on for months.
With another mystery solved, the gang boat away in search of their next adventure. I give this episode an 8.5 out of 10. I was originally thinking 9, but after further repeats, I'm thinking 8.5. This is a strong episode, and I love the opening, where we see Scooby and Shaggy on water skis, and then the old Iron Face emerges water skiing on mechanical man-eating sharks. Very cool, very intense. Awesome scene. It just gets better when they go to Mama Mione's and the gang are just acting like kids. That to me is the essence of a good Scooby-Doo episode. The gang acting like kids, usually at the diner or some restaurant where they're just talking, and a spooky opening and a spooky atmosphere is just what I love about Scooby-Doo. And this started out so strong. We also get the scene where they're in the glass boat and they look below and they see the sunken ship that Captain Morgan was on. Awesome stuff. When they get to the island though, that looks awesome. It's the giant skull with the jail on top. Things kind of just get a little less spooky with the Shaggy and Scooby scenes. And that's why I take off points here. There's just too many gags going on with old Iron Face and Scooby and Shaggy. I do like the gags, but as an adult, I prefer a little bit more spookiness. And we do get that in other episodes, which I'll come up later when I give them 10 out of 10. But here, I wish they kind of kept that intensity going. I know this is meant for kids and such, so I'm nitpicking here, but we do get it later on, so that's kind of why I wish they had it here. There's just too many gags with Scooby and Shaggy. And the scenes with Freddy, Velma, and Daphne are really cool, but they never actually run into Iron Face other than when they're water skiing or driving the boat earlier on, or when they catch Iron Face later on in the episode. And I find when Velma, Freddy, and Daphne run into the villain, the episode tends to be spooky throughout. This episode, it was just basically Scooby and Shaggy running into the Iron Face, and they didn't really make full use out of the prison setting with them. They could have made it a little more spookier, a little more atmospheric. So that's kind of why I give it 8.5. Old Iron Face doesn't have much personality other than when she's on her mechanical sharks. When she's running around the prison, she's just kind of like groaning. Although I did like her superhuman strength when she's running through doors. That was kind of cool. Still a very fun episode. It had a lot of the same beats as Creepy Tangle on Bermuda Triangle though. In that episode, we had the reveal of the old sea captain being an FBI agent or someone with official status with the government or whatnot. And then we had torpedoes in that episode where Scooby gets in a torpedo, and yeah, we had that. And then we had, again, the crane, the electromagnetic crane in this episode. They had a crane in that episode. In this one, though, it's really cool, a different twist, because they catch Iron Face by the face, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, like I said, fun episode, 8.5 out of 10. I want to thank everyone for their views, subscribes, and likes. Every episode I put out, I seem to grow every week, so I appreciate it. This is a labor of love. It does take me about 10 hours to basically cut together the clips and write the script and do the intros and outros. And so just knowing that other people are enjoying it keeps me going and makes me happy. And That wraps up another episode. Until next week when we will be covering Jeepers, It's a Jaguaro. Stay spooky.
It's a school of man-eating sharks.
Jeepers, if that's a school, that must be the teacher.
Anybody here?